I stayed in an abandoned cabin for 3 nights. It started as a dare. My friends and I were at a bonfire, swapping ghost stories, when someone brought up the old cabin in the woods. The locals called it the Screaming Shack. Supposedly, a family of 4 had disappeared there decades ago, leaving nothing behind but bloodied walls and unanswered questions. People claimed to hear screams at night, see lights flickering in the windows, and feel an overwhelming sense of dread even from the road. "You're full of it," I laughed, brushing off the chill creeping up my spine. But when Ryan, the group's self-proclaimed skeptic, dared me to spend 3 nights there alone, my pride got the better of me. I wish I had just said no. Night 1, I arrived just before sunset. The cabin looked worse than I expected. The windows were boarded up, the wooden walls were rotting, and the air smelled of damp earth and decay. I set up a small lantern inside, illuminating the single, dusty room. There was a table, 2 chairs, and an old fireplace, nothing else. The first few hours were uneventful. I tried to distract myself by scrolling through my phone, but there was no signal. Around midnight, I heard the first noise. It was faint, like someone whispering just outside the cabin. I froze, straining to listen. The whispers grew louder, unintelligible but frantic. Gathering my courage, I opened the door. No one was there, but as I closed the door, I noticed something on the porch, a single, wet footprint. Barefoot. Human. I locked the door and didn't sleep a second that night. Night 2, by the second night, I was exhausted. I told myself it was just my mind playing tricks. But when the sun set, the atmosphere in the cabin changed. The air felt heavier, like it was pressing down on my chest. At around 2 a.m., the whispering returned. This time, it was inside the cabin. The sound came from the corner. I shone my flashlight but saw nothing. Then the chair at the table creaked as if someone had just sat down. My lantern flickered and went out, plunging the room into darkness. I swear I heard breathing. It was slow and deliberate, coming from inches away. My phone flashlight barely worked, but when I turned it on, I saw the chair was empty. The breathing stopped. I should have left, but I didn't. I convinced myself I'd imagined it. Night 3, I almost didn't go back, but Ryan's taunts echoed in my head. I had to prove I wasn't scared. I arrived just before sundown, but this time, the cabin felt different. The air was ice cold. My breath fogged up in front of me. Around midnight, I heard footsteps, slow, deliberate, and coming up the porch steps. I locked the door, clutching a knife I'd brought just in case. The footsteps stopped outside, followed by a knock. 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 I stayed silent, praying whoever it was would leave. Then came the whisper, clearer than ever, "Let me in." The door handle rattled violently. I screamed, backing into the corner. Suddenly, the noise stopped. It was dead silent. I thought it was over, but then I felt something, a cold hand on my shoulder. I turned, but nothing was there. The lantern exploded, plunging the room into complete darkness. Something growled low and guttural, and the whispers returned, now deafening. They weren't just around me, they were inside my head. I ran out of the cabin, tripping over roots and branches, until I reached my car. I didn't look back. I haven't slept since that night. Wherever I go, I hear whispers. In my apartment, at work, even in broad daylight. And sometimes, in the corner of my eye, I see the chair move. I wasn't alone in that cabin. And now, whatever was there has followed me,